Hey, Jonathan Peters here with Big Heads, Big Ideas. All right. And today I want to look at leaderboards, to discuss leaderboards, because I had an experience this week that really got me thinking about leaderboards. So if you know about me and my work inside of gamification and game-based learning, my theory of fun is that what makes a game mechanic fun is that it appeals to at least one of our core desires. So we have 16 core desires according to the empirically based taxonomy of human needs and desires by Dr. Reiss. We each have these desires. What makes us different from each other, what makes you different from me and you different from your learners and your players, is the emphasis you put on any one of these. So what you're seeing here on the screen is an example of one person's Reiss motivational profile. And what's in the middle there in the orange, life just naturally gives us those things. We don't have a huge drive to get more of those things. But what's on the right-hand side there, what's in the dark blue, this person wants more of these than 80% of the data set. And what's on the left side, she wants less of these two things than 80% of the data set. And that's what makes her who she is. So with that high desire for curiosity, she wants more than what life just naturally gives her. That means she enjoys games that use her intellect. She likes learning games. She likes to use what she's learned. So she likes word games, puzzles, and so on. These are enjoyable for her. If you have a middle desire for curiosity, you might find Wordle fun. You might play a game Scrabble or something like that occasionally. But if you have a low desire, any type of puzzle game, it's just not going to be fun if you're going to disengage from that game. So that's a quick thumbnail of my theory. So let's look at leaderboards. So leaderboards appeal to three of these core desires. So specifically power, because if we start down toward the bottom of the leaderboard, we can now see what we need to do to progress, and we can work our way up and struggle our way up and grind our way up and move up the leaderboard. Vengeance, down at the bottom there, vengeance, what becomes fun about a leaderboard is not just the moving up, but it's other people are moving down. So it's not about me winning, it's about you losing. So that becomes fun. That type of competition becomes fun inside of vengeance. And then status, leaderboards appeal to status because everybody can see that I'm in the top 10, that I'm in the top 5, the top 3, or hey, I'm number 1. All right. So I happen to be high on all three of these. And so you would think that leaderboards would be extremely engaging for me. And I did some self-reflection a little over a year ago. I asked myself why I don't engage in leaderboards. I don't find them fun or interesting. And I realized, first of all, there's the snob factor of it. I'm too good to be on your leaderboard. There might be a little bit of that. But probably what it is that if I can't be number 1 in the top 3 and the top 5, then I won't engage at all anyway. So I recently had an experience, well, not recently, just a couple days ago, so very recently, an experience with a leaderboard, and that's specifically with Peloton. Now, I don't own a Peloton. The only time I ever get to ride on a Peloton is when I'm at a hotel that has a subscription. And so not once a month do I get this opportunity. But I enjoy it as an exercise. So first of all, high power, but also high physical activity. I do enjoy working out. In this case, with another person, so an instructor's there. She, because I always like females instructors, has music. She's put it to music. So we got it all figured out. And she's instructing us, okay, now we're doing a hill climb. Now we're doing a downhill. Now we're coasting. Now we're doing a jog. And so there's this whole setup and words of encouragement and so on. So now there's 3 leaderboards inside of Peloton. So there's live classes, so someone's in studio, and so you could either be at the studio, it compares who's studio and who's live at that point, so virtually as well. Then they take the recordings of those, and then the popular ones then end up on their website. So then there's a leaderboard for all time, and then there's a leaderboard for right now, which means in the last hour. So someone's about done with their ride when you get on, and someone's coming on as you're on your ride. So it's usually around 20 people. So when I started with Peloton, I always stayed on that one because it's only 20 some people. I'm not going to be a loser. It's relatively easy for me in the shape that I'm in to be respectable, to be in the top 50%. But as I started riding, I started becoming number one relatively quickly on the ride. And so then I would switch over to the of all time. Now we're talking tens of thousands of people. So a few days ago, that happened to me. I was in this hotel for 3 days. And so on the first day, what happened, or first day, yeah, the first day I was there, what happened is I pushed up and then I switched over to all time, and this was a very popular ride. There was 145,000 people had taken this ride, just over 145,000 people, me being one of those. And I got up into the top 20 relatively quickly. For most of the ride, I was trying to push. At one point, I did get to number 20 on the ride, but then I ended up down at 27. So of all these 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 145,000 people from around the world, I was in the top 20. And so, of course, I was bragging about it and so on. But still, just only in the top 20. So the next day, I'm getting on the bike and I'm notified that a ride is starting live in less than a minute. So I thought, well, let's try this. Let's go for this. So sure enough, I get in there, and so the leaderboard's sitting there, and I want to get ahead very quickly on the leaderboard. So remember, there's status and vengeance in there. And so normally in the warm-up, here's your cadence, and then it's all about cadence and resistance. So usually you're going to be, so cadence, whatever they'll say, but your resistance is usually 20 to 40, especially during the warm-up. So I start right in at, because I can, like the physical shape that I'm in, so it's relatively easy to start out at 60 cadence. So because of that cadence, I move up quickly in the leaderboard. And now I'm neck and neck with several people. I just keep that resistance up, follow the cadence, and so on. And so now I'm ahead. Not just ahead, now I'm starting to move ahead. So power got me there, because power said, hey, we're going to put forth the extra effort to be high on the leaderboard. Status, I'm now number one, so that should be enough. Right? So now we can just ride and we can just enjoy ourselves, but the vengeance kicked in. Because it wasn't just about winning, it wasn't just about winning, it was about watching other people lose, and then the drive to make sure they lost greatly. All right. So I started moving up. I'm ahead 100 points. I'm ahead, and I just keep pushing. And so here's the final results. You can see here, so out of the 225 people, I'm number one, but not only number one, but the next person is 2/3 lower than me, 200 points below me. So, and then if you scroll down, which you can't see in this picture, the person that's not there, they're exactly half as many points as I had. So here's the point when I think about my experience with leaderboards, is it became very driven because not only do I have all three of the core desires to achieve those things, but to really push beyond. So think about you. If you do not happen to be high in these three areas, you would not have had the same experience. If you were in the middle, it feels good to be in the top three, to be number one, that feels good. So even if you're just average status, that feels good. And oh, by the way, I was getting the high fives, because they're doing the high fives. And I'm like, poof, that's the high status going back. Yeah, I got you. Thanks for noticing how cool I am. So, but the point is, if you're average status, that feels good because you achieve that. But if you were low status, you would be embarrassed by this, that you're number one, that people are high-fiving you and so on. I'd be like, ugh. So you would pull back. You wouldn't want to be in the number one status. You would pull back to be in the bottom 10%. If you're same thing with power, it doesn't really matter. You're just worrying about the relationship to other people. So if you're in your 50s, and by age-wise, and there's someone in their 30s, and you're working to get up there, you feel good about yourself when you pass over that 30s person, but you don't really care where you are in the overall ranking. And then, of course, vengeance, like I said, is that's where that kicked in. But if you're average, the competition is fun. But if you're low motivated by vengeance, then this isn't fun at all. Leaderboards are terrible because of the whole competition. The idea that there are a bunch of losers down there below me, hurts their feelings. They feel badly for those people. So why would such a jerk like this J. Peters PhD guy, such a jerk that he just blew it out of the water, and then now that distance for the people way down on the leaderboard are going to feel badly about themselves. So what a jerk that guy is up there at the top. So the point is here, with leaderboards, it's how it works. First of all, is it the behavior we want? Yeah, this was the behavior that I wanted. I pushed myself extremely hard. I was not number one the next day. But the point is that putting forth that extra effort because of who I am. I find leaderboards fun. If I apply them the way I find is fun, I am going to hurt and disconnect from my learners, my players very, very quickly. They're not going to have the same experience I have. They're not going to have the enjoyment that I get. And many of them will disengage from my program because what is fun for me is not fun for them. So I'd be curious to hear your experiences with leaderboards, especially if you perceive yourself to be high power, high status, or high vengeance. How does that feel? Or if you have low desire for power, low desire for vengeance, low desire for vengeance, how do you feel about leaderboards as well? So comment below, or hit me up. It's bighead@sententiagames.com, and let me know your thoughts about leaderboards.